I, 33 male, messed up with my wife, 30 female, over my parents' early 60s, and I don't know how to fix things. Some context: I'm an only child, and it's been drummed into me from a young age that I need to be there for my parents as they age. For the most part, I don't mind. They've done their best to provide me with what I need, and I'm always willing to provide a hand when I can. When I married, I was relieved to learn that my wife felt the same way. For the most part, she respects my parents as if they are her own. The problem is that my folks are now visiting us. They'd been here for 2 months and are scheduled to remain for another 3 weeks. This has not been a problem for us. My wife had what she believed was her period a few days ago, but after a while she was in a lot of agony, so I hurried her to the ER, where we were informed she was experiencing a miscarriage. This came as a complete surprise to both of us, since we had not anticipated anything. She was sent home with instructions to relax and take it easy, and at her request, we informed my parents that she had a stomach upset, which, along with her menstruation, made matters worse. My wife was in bed relaxing the following day when, and this is based on what she told me since I was at work, my mother entered the room and asked her when she was getting out of bed because there was work to be done. She graciously answered that she wasn't feeling well and that she would be remaining in bed all day, but that if my mother needed anything done, she should write it down and she would do it the next day. My wife, let's call her Lucy, informed my mother that if it was genuinely an emergency, she would ask me to handle it in the evening. My mother then yelled at her, calling her a no-good lazy who took advantage of her son. Lucy began weeping and requested my mother to leave the room, but my mother yelled at her until Lucy took up the phone and dialed my number. When she did, my mother apparently left the room and Lucy exited and shut the door. I picked up her phone call and she was still weeping and unable to respond, so I raced home at noon. I'm embarrassed to confess that I didn't trust her when she gave me the complete tale. My mother had never acted in that manner before, and I had never seen her doing so. I put Lucy to sleep and asked my mother what had occurred. She said she had just asked Lucy what she wanted for lunch when Lucy began wailing. I screwed up again, letting it slip that Lucy had had a miscarriage and telling my mom to keep an eye on her since her tears may have been caused by her hormones. So, 2 hours after I returned to work, I receive another phone from Lucy, but this time I can hear my mother yelling at Lucy over her miscarriage. I immediately returned home and addressed my folks. My mother remained unrepentant, and my father said that he did not want to be drawn into the controversy. When I asked Lucy what she wanted, she said she wanted my parents to leave the home right now. This was an issue for me, so I told her I'd put them up someplace for a night or two. She snapped and stated I couldn't spend a single penny on them, not after what my mother had said to her. I apologized, but that was out of the question since my parents relied on me. She began to cry and requested me to go, so I left her alone for a while. During that time, she had contacted her brother in the neighboring town, and he had arrived. He didn't say anything, simply helped Lucy pack, and they were on their way. I attempted to stop her and persuade her to remain, but all she said was that she wouldn't be here as long as my parents were. I had no idea what to do. I simply continued phoning and left voicemails for her. My parents took it upon themselves to contact her parents, who reside in another country, and basically insult them by telling them that if they had raised their daughter properly, she would not have gone. I had to take the phone from them and apologize to her parents. They were really perplexed, so I explained everything to them, and then they hung up on me. That stung. I apologized again and left a message, but they did not respond. The following day, I received a message from my wife inviting me to her brother's house. I got there after work and we spoke. She complained that it was unfair that she couldn't be at her own home when my parents were there. It seemed like she was being punished for no fault of her own, she said. She then threatened to leave me if my parents didn't leave by the end of the week, on their own money, not ours. I know my parents need to go, but every time I tell them, my father refuses to purchase a plane ticket and claims they'll leave when they're supposed to, and if I keep forcing them, they'll disown me. I'm unable to get them out of the home since I'm at work all day. My wife will leave me if I don't get them out, and I can't picture life without her. My folks don't care if she abandons me. My wife is unconcerned about my parents possibly disowning me. Her brother contacted me yesterday and said that every day my parents are at our house and she isn't, she hates me a bit more. I'm at a loss on what to do. I don't want to call the cops and have them evict my parents because, well, they're my parents. I can't afford to lose my wife. I can't see a way out of this. Please assist me. I told my parents that if they didn't leave, I'd contact the police. They're heading out to spend the next 3 weeks with my aunt. My mother left the home, but they're gone. I'm leaving right now to pick up my wife. I've got a lot of apologizing to do. I'm not sure I want to keep in touch with my parents anymore. Thank you very much. Now for the real update. After evicting his parents, my husband, Jack, came down to my brother's apartment to take me home, as he put it. But before he did, we had a lengthy, long talk in which we discussed everything, which is how we came to the first and third points mentioned before. My brother was a trooper and loaned us his flat for the night so we could have some solitude. When I questioned Jack about his intentions with his parents, he said he won't allow them back into our life until they apologize. If they do, we'll let them see any future children, but only under supervision, and they'll never be left alone with them. He's completely on my side and apologized for siding with his parents. He told me it was difficult for him to believe his parents, whom he had always held in high regard, were capable of such behavior. I sobbed with him. I can't imagine what he's going through, having to shut your parents out of your life in such a drastic way. But I'm grateful he's on my side. We'll go to therapy together for a few sessions, and I'm trying to get him to attend independently as well, to deal with this entire cutting parents out problem. The following day, he booked a hotel room for the two of us and instructed me to spend the day doing whatever I pleased to relax and order room service. He then arranged for cleaners to clean our place so I wouldn't have to. I was astounded that he had the carpet steam cleaned. The room service was fantastic. I'm a little bummed that I have to cook now, hee. We're finally back home, and it's nice to have just the two of us. His parents have traveled to be with his Aunt Sandra, who, in my opinion, is the perfect location for them since she doesn't take any BS. He planned to phone her and let her know what had occurred, but she ended up phoning him the night his parents arrived, wondering why we'd booted them out. He told him everything that had transpired, instructed her not to allow them spread nonsense about me, and she said she'd take care of it. He then phoned a couple of his close relatives to inform them of what had occurred, so that if his parents attempted to turn his family against us, they would be unable to. She phoned again yesterday night, expressing her frustration that no one appeared to empathize with them. Jack informed me that he overheard his mother yelling in the background about the devil her son had married, and Sandra cried back, "You're the devil, shut your mouth." Apparently, when my MIL married my FIL, her MIL expected her to wait on her hand and foot, do all the housework, and so on, and she was waiting for Jack to marry so she could get the same treatment in return. It also explains why his father didn't say anything. He'd grown used to his mother, Jack's grandmother, treating his wife, Jack's mother, in this manner, so he didn't bat an eye when his wife shouted such things at me. I honestly feel sad for his mother, who is married to someone who allows them to be treated this way. I'm hoping that his parents spending time with Sandra would wake them up and make them realize that until they apologize, they won't have anybody to support them. Oh, and we also spoke to my folks and settled things out with them. I believe they now regard Jack to be more of a son than they did before. And although we both thanked my brother numerous times, we've called him up for the following weekend, and we're going to take him out to a fantastic meal, and I'm preparing him enough of the food he enjoys to take home with him. Please let me know if you have any additional ideas for ways to thank him. Okay, that's all I have to say. We're going to binge watch Doctor Who and then order pizza.